Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel, to my wonderland. It is coffee time and today I bring you finally my December wrap up.
It's coffee time!
So December for me was not a really bad month, but it was also not the best. I did manage to push so that I would complete the challenge of 100 books in 2018, so I'm really happy about that. So let's start checking out the books that I read in the month of December. And first we have A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, and this is the third book in the Agatar series. And I always have trouble to get through these books because for some reason I read these books way slower than other type of books. So it took me nearly the whole month to get through it, but I was really enjoying it. It didn't have anything to do with the enjoyment. I think it was more that the way that things are written and all of the different characters, and maybe because it's a little bit more fantasy than other things that I regularly read, maybe that's why I was reading it a little bit more slow paced. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this book is that in this book we got to know a little bit better the characters, and they even spill tea about each other, and I absolutely love that part. I also love that you get to see a little bit more of the politics in the kingdoms, and you also get to experience some conflicts and some wars as well. This has been my favorite book so far. The next book I believe it's coming out in 2019. But this has been my favorite because of the combination, you know, of love, comedy, drama, and like battle, like all of those things, they just combined so well in this book. I felt that the first book, the beginning was a little bit too slow for me, but then it caught up in the end. The second book for me was, it just had way too much, you know, intercourse and I just wished it would have had other things as well. Like it would have had more parts of other interesting things, and I think this is perfect. This is the perfect combination of everything, and this is the book that I've enjoyed the characters the most as well. So this has been so far my favorite one, and I can't wait for the next one now. I have been considering of getting this kind of novella that was released, I believe in May 2018 or something like that, but it is in everybody's worst books of 2018 lists, and I'm a little bit concerned, and I've heard that there is just way too much, you know, intercourse in this one as well. Like Sheldon would say, it's a lot of coitus going on, and I don't know if I want to put myself through that, but on the other hand, I kind of want to have them all in my shelf because it will look pretty and it kind of belongs to the series. But I don't know. Let me know down below if I really should put myself through that or not. So I ended up giving this book 4 coffee mugs. Then I have Beneath the Sugar Skies by Shannon McGuire, and this is the third book on the Wayward Children trilogy, and I had really high expectations for this one after reading the second book because that one was my favorite one, and I loved it so much that I just could not wait for the third book. And I liked it, but I had the feeling that the world building was great. The world that she had in her head when she created this book is amazing, but I feel that you cannot put it in 170 pages. So I think that this story and this kind of a world building that she had, they just needed to have a bigger book. They just needed a bigger story. Like, I just felt, you know, we went through so many places in such a rush time that I didn't really get to enjoy where we were. I didn't get really to enjoy the characters and to see them grow and get their personalities on check, and everything felt rushed and I was confusing the characters all the time, and I don't know, I just felt like this called for a bigger book. I still ended up giving it 4 coffee mugs because I thought the world was fantastic and magical, even though I thought, you know, it just really deserved more pages so that I could really submerge into it. But I really love this series, so I still wanted to give it a 4 stars. And the new book is coming out now in January, so I am gonna try to get it also as soon as possible and read that one as well. But so far from the series, my favorite is the second one. If you don't know what the series is about the idea that children sometimes find a door to another world and they can cross that door, and then they find themselves, it could be like any kind of world, they're totally different from each other, and they might spend some years there, and then at some point they find themselves coming back to the real world and they have trouble adapting. So because they have a hard time to readapt to society, they are sent to Eleanor's home for wayward children, where they meet other kids that have the same problems that they have, you know, that they just want to go back to this world. And we follow different stories, different kids, and I just really love the idea, love the books, love how magical they feel. But still, this one was not particularly my favorite one out of the three. Then we have The Outsider by Stephen King, because this year I had not read any new release by Stephen King, and you know, I couldn't let that happen. So in December I decided to pick up The Outsider, and I loved it. I decided to give it a 4.5 rating. Basically, in this book we are faced with the question, can a person be in two places at the same time? So we're in a small town, and sadly they found the body of a kid that was murdered, and they are investigating, and everything points to the kid's trainer at school. They have witnesses that say they've seen him picking up the child. There is another kid that says she saw him at the park where they found the body covered with blood. So everybody thinks it's him, even though he is a well-respected and well-known member of the community. But apparently he has the perfect alibi, because at the time of the murder he was in a totally different city. So who killed the kid? Can a person be in two places at the same time? These are the questions that we are being confronted with at the beginning of the book. I know some people were disappointed by this book because at the middle it takes a turn into something a little bit different. So basically the first part of the book is a mystery thriller, and the second part of the book felt a little bit more like a horror Stephen King kind of book. For me, I loved both parts. I was just a little bit shocked of that turn that it took. I'm not saying anything about the plot of the story, so it's not kind of spoiler. It's just a different type of writing, and I would have preferred that he would have made like a smoother bridge between the two parts, and that's why I decided to only give it 4.5 coffee mugs. Then I read The World According to Anna by Justine Garter, and I picked this one up because it had kind of like a wintry cover. Also because I had not read anything else by him except Sophie's World, and I really enjoyed that book. I thought this book was gonna be totally different, but in a way it felt like Sophie's World, because we are philosophizing in this book about the human race and how we are killing our planet. We follow the story of Anna, and she is a very special girl, and she says that she gets messages from a futuristic world. So her parents obviously think that there's something wrong with her, and they send her to a psychiatrist, and he just tells her that she's fine, that she's just a very special, intelligent girl. And the whole book is kind of like divided in very little chapters of Anna in the present and Anna when she has this kind of memories or dreams about the future. And I really love that we had this difference, and I personally really loved the fact that this book is trying to defend the animals, the environment, and everything that we are basically destroying. However, this book was written in 2012, I believe, and maybe back then it was not such a big topic, but I do feel like this book in no way mentioned animal agriculture as a climate change problem, and I think that is one of the biggest problems that we have right now, and also one of the things that should have been addressed in this book. However, because I really love that it is bringing awareness to our planet, and because I did like the way it was written, I gave it 3 coffee mugs. But for me, this was something like missing a little bit, something that made it more interesting and a little bit more powerful, because for me it kind of felt a little bit flat. Next we have 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott, and I got this book a couple of weeks after it came out, and I already knew that I had to read it right away because I was super interested in the story. The movie is also coming out this year, which was another thing that made me really want to read this as fast as possible. We're following the story of 2 teenagers that have a lung disease, and with this disease they cannot get you know, close to each other because their immune system basically is not strong enough due to their lungs, and their lungs are basically shutting down through the years. So the goal when you have this illness is just to get a transplant. Our both characters are total opposites. We have one hand we have Stella, and she's this girl that she's positive and decided to make things work and, you know, fighting to survive, and she's a control freak and she makes to-do lists, and, you know, she just like has herself together. And then we have Will. Will is just, you know, a rebel. You know, one of these guys that whatever, I don't care, I just want to have, you know, be free and have control over my life. So all he wants is to turn 18 so that he can check himself out of the hospital and go live the rest of the years that he has left free and enjoying life. What I love the most about this book is the way that you understand in this book how it is for the characters to have this illness, and how even though they're totally opposites, they are learning from each other. So that's why I gave it 4 coffee mugs, and I'm super excited to watch the movie. Also, it has Cole Sprouse in it, who, you know, since rewatching Riverdale like an addict, I just love Jughead, his character, so much. So I'm super excited to see him in a different role. On my ebook, I read The Snow Child by Eowyn Ebe. We follow the story of a man and a woman, and they had a baby, but sadly the baby passed away and they're having a lot of trouble dealing with it, and they decide to change their lives completely, and they move to Alaska, and we are in the year 1920. So one day, playing outside in the snow, they decide to build a snow girl, and they put like a little hat and some mittens and everything, and they go home, and the next day they realize that the snow girl is gone, and also are the hat and the little mittens. And one day they start to see this girl running around in the woods, and she's carrying the hat and the mittens, and so they start to wonder what happened. And it is based in this Russian fairy tale where a couple build a little snow girl and she comes to life. So I ended up giving it only 3 coffee mugs. The reason being is that the writing was a little bit dry for me, and I was expecting the writing to be a little bit more compelling, a little bit more you know, magical, that it felt in some spaces a little bit more magical, since it is in a way a retelling of a fairy tale. The last thing I read in December were 2 graphic novels. We have Saga Volume 2, which I really enjoyed, and it is kind of a retelling of Romeo and Juliet in a way, because we are following a girl and a boy that come from 2 different planets that are at war, and so their love is kind of considered forbidden, but they really love each other and they want to stay together, so they have to fight basically to be together, and it is really awesome. But this is an adult graphic novel, so disclaimer for violence, sex, and all of that jazz. And I ended up giving Saga Volume 2 a total of 4 coffee mugs. And then I also read the Neonomicon by Alan Moore and Jason Burrows, and I really wanted to read this one in October, but I didn't make it, so I wanted to read it at least before the end of the year. Oh boy, I was not really expecting this. Like, I thought it was gonna be more horror and more kind of like investigation kind of thing, but it got a little bit weird. So I don't know even how to explain the plot of these. Basically, there are 2 agents that are investigating some kind of cult, and they try to infiltrate themselves into the cult to find out what they're doing, and it just gets really weird. And also, disclaimer here for a lot of coitus and bestiality and violence and all of that jazz, and also just throw in some rape in there as well. And this was really not what I expected. Yeah, and I ended up giving this one just 3 coffee mugs. So these are all the books that I have read in the month of December. Not too bad, but also not one of my best months. Let me know, you guys, what you have been reading in the month of December. Leave me a comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. All my other social media is listed down below for you guys, and I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!